Hi, I'm Scotty from Strange Parts, and you're listening to the Scene World podcast.
It's the Scene World podcast. I'm AJ. That is Joerg over that away. And on this beautiful day, we are recording an intro for the podcast in which we speak to
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Our day is over.
Well, mine is just starting. It's like almost 2 p.m. here.
Starting. It's afternoon, man. That means it's going towards the end.
It's my day off from work. I didn't get up until like 2 hours ago. So.
Okay. Well, that's
see these bags under my eyes. I'd have to check these bags at an airport because they're too big for carry-on.
Whoa. Okay.
But anyway, so in a second we are talking to MrMobile, Michael Fisher,
also known as Captain2Phones, depending on which channel you are.
And
actually didn't know that he has so many brands and stuff, but he has.
Yeah,
and we learned about that during the interview.
Which will be happening in just a second. Before that, though, we got a little bit of news. I'm actually going to start this one off before we pop over to yours. So, do you play Wordle?
No.
Neither do I. And I see.
I know what it is. Yeah.
I don't really know what it is. I see people posting about it, and it annoys me a lot. But I don't actually I don't play the game, and I don't know anything about it. But Megastyle has brought it to the C64 in the form of a game called Turtle, and that's Turdle, as in turd. And I don't know if you can. I'm gonna move my webcam. Hang on to your. I can't. I don't know if you can tell, but the turtle is a poop.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. So. After that shaky cam experience. So, yes, it's a very cute looking game called Turtle for the C64. And it is...
But you will put in a proper
I will put in a proper screenshot. Yeah, right now people will be looking at the actual picture of the game and the actual picture of the poop turtle because it's much better resolution than my webcam can be looking at the screen.
Looks like it.
And we'll also put a link to where people can download it. I guess that it's not exactly a one-to-one copy. It's pretty much the same game apparently, but there are it's just enough to where they're not going to get sued, I guess. So that's cool. That's a game that's been released on the 64.
Nice.
And there's another one that just came out of nowhere. Apparently, everyone was kind of surprised by it. It's a C64 game has appeared, and it's called T-Rex 64, by three guys. I can't pronounce these. I'm not even going to try. And it is another conversion of a game that exists. It is a conversion of the Easter egg in the Chrome browser. So, you're a little dinosaur, and you have to jump over things and duck under birds and stuff.
Nice.
And so the original game was an Easter egg in Chrome featuring a T-Rex. And it's only accessible when you are not connected to the internet, apparently. But this has 14 levels, 3 distinct worlds, dedicated music, joystick and keyboard support.
Nice.
And we'll put links, and you'll be probably looking at a video of it playing, and we'll put links to where you can download it and check it out down below.
Awesome.
And now, I will pop the news over to you.
Well, a while ago we spoke to Scott Miller, about Apogee Entertainment being back.
I was in the Outer Banks, sitting on a balcony, getting winded on.
Right, exactly. I mean, you are VIP.
What do you think is spurring along the boom in indie development lately? I had to mute it because a helicopter kept going overhead.
And he also mentioned Turbo Overkill.
Mm-hmm.
And actually today, they released a demo of Turbo Overkill on Steam.
Oh, okay.
So go and download and try that out.
Awesome. We'll put a link
So
down there.
this way we covered PC retro and indie
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yes.
And also there was an article from Kotaku
Kotaku,
that
yeah.
actually made German news also. Actually, a seller, so a shop, from what I understood, found hundreds of sealed retro 90s games that were just publicly revealed could be worth $1 million, they write.
Really?
A factory sealed copy of Chrono Triggers. This is just one part of the incredible haul, and they show a picture.
Wow.
And
Yeah, the picture I'm seeing has like real dated stuff like NHL 95 and 94.
Yeah.
Which I've learned from trying to sell a NHL 2006 online for PlayStation that like once the year that it was released is over, nobody wants the game.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, I'm also not a big fan of Gianna Sisters.
Neither am I.
Not because of how the inputs work. That doesn't really bother me. But I don't really like the game itself, pretty much.
Neither do I.
But
we agree on
I
this.
do have a copy on disc because it's rare.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like Hugo, the troll from Denmark that was a TV show, even in USA, UK, Germany, whatsoever. I also got a copy of the cartridge for the 64 because they were, at that time, like 15 years ago, there were only like 5 units left to be known to be in existence. So I got one, and well, so, and it appears, according to the article, that this is courtesy of Games Room, a 3 outpost video game retailer based in Nebraska, whose owner Chris Thompson is serving as a liaison for the sale.
Okay.
So more about that can be seen if you go to their news article and read about it, or look at the Games Room YouTube video.
Yeah, they mentioned in the article, I'm looking at it now, that just last year, a copy of The Legend of Zelda sold for almost $900,000. And
yeah, well, that's another thing. That's the grading bubble.
Yeah.
That's supposed to burst, but that's not about the grading bubble here. Vata Games, the grading bubble that was created from Vata Games, and this auction house, Heritage, I think is the name.
Right.
And we spoke about that. We spoke about that in our last episode with Kelsey Lewin as well. But this is actually just, this article is not about the grading bubble, but about the actual second-hand market being much more valuable than before the pandemic because of peaked interest since the pandemic. People want to relive their past, are stuck at home and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mention that because, you and I are very different in how we collect games. Like you have Gianna Sisters because it's a rare game. You collect the rarities and stuff. Whereas a lot of the stuff that I collect.
But here's the thing. I'm a rarity collector. I only buy things that are rare when they appear at a reasonable price.
Right, yes. Right, of course,
That means sometimes it takes me 10 years. It took me 10 years to find a reasonable priced original of Last Ninja on disc.
Right. Whereas the stuff that I get is not necessarily they're games that I like. Like I purchased Planet Golf when it came out,
of course.
or I got Sam's Journey. But I also collect games that are not necessarily rare, but were games that I played and had when I was younger. Like I've got.
Oh, of course, I got those too. Yes.
Stand up because this thing is long enough for me to do this. But Yeah, like one of the things that I bought one of the first things I got when I started looking around at games on YouTube was this old Key Punch Software space games thing. This is not rare. It's not even good.
I
But
know you told it many times in
yeah.
the news section.
Right, but it's one that I had when I was young, and it's like, all right, like I want to refill that with the and granted I can just download the disc image because it exists online, but I want this garbage golden disc thing, even if the disc doesn't work, I just want this thing to sit there.
Yeah, well, in this aspect, we are not different, but I'm doing it additionally to what you are doing.
Right.
I'm also buying original of games that I didn't have an original for when I was a child, but I used to play it with my grandfather. Right. So, but I also buy things
or this
that
I got a copy of Space Rogue because I wanted the stuff like the stuff that it comes with, like the inside, like the manual for your ship that's got like, you know, the notes written in on it that were, you know, I mean it came with the notes there, like it was like you found this in a used ship, you know, like you know, there's like coffee stains and, you know, smudges on the pages and stuff, and like this is like I got this thing
it's really
for that.
A piece of art
and the map, yeah. And all the stuff that comes with it. There was it also came with a small novel, or not a novel, but a novella, like a little story that really has nothing to do at all with the game itself.
Well, I have two examples myself. Let me show you.
And of course, this the you know, the software catalog that you would just sit there and drool over everything in because everything looked awesome.
I know. Here's the thing. For example, here is a copy for the PC for Driver San Francisco.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a second copy that is still sealed, but this copy here I got because I wanted to open it. So I got two copies of that, and that's pretty rare because it's a game from 2011, and the gameplay is like it allows you to shift into other drivers on the road, and that's making a very good, interesting story plot and gameplay. And original, this 5 years later, 2016, they removed it from the market because of licensing issues with the music in the game.
Right.
So that is why I got it, not only because it's rare, but also because it's a very good, enjoyable game. Another example that we mentioned last episode is The Lion Kings for the Super Nintendo. That's actually a republished version from IM8-bit, and that's like super expensive in the original version.
Yeah,
and this is a reprint.
Wasn't there an Amiga version of that too?
Probably, I don't know, but I only knew there was a Game Boy, an NES, a Super Nintendo, and a PC version, and this and Aladdin. No, I pronounced it wrong. I learned it's Aladdin, right? Aladdin. I don't like the gameplay so much of it, but as I mentioned last time, that Savvy actually took over the distribution for UK and Germany. I was like, okay, so I don't have to pay VAT when it comes from USA to Germany, because they actually shipped it from the Netherlands. So it was actually cheaper than buying it from the original IM8-bit store.
Yeah.
So those are just two examples of rare games.
Yeah, the Lion King did come out on the Amiga. I think what I'm seeing here is that it was an Amiga 1200 version, which would have been probably AGA.
Probably, yeah.
but I'm not sure that it was actually. Yeah, pretty sure it was released, but I don't know if it was.
Yeah.
1994. That's Oh, there's apparently a lot missing from the Lion King Amiga release.
Was it even official?
Yes, I believe it was. But it says here in the Wikipedia about it that an Amiga 1200 version of the game was developed with assembly language in 2 months by Dave Simmons, who was willing to take on the conversion if he received the Genesis source code. He assumed the game would be programmed in 68,000 assembly, since the Amiga and Genesis shared the same CPU family, but it turned out to be written in C, a language he was unfamiliar with.
Well, it got a score in Lemon Amiga of 7.13, so that's not too bad.
It's not. I'm also
But
looking
not
at
the best game either.
Yeah, there's also a whole thread in Lemon Amiga, which we'll link to right down there, which, why is there so much missing in the Amiga Lion King release?
Well, anyway, not bad. So
Yeah.
he kind of learned the language.
Yeah.
He didn't know just because he made the promise.
Well, no, I think what ended up happening, I think what they're saying is that he knew 68,000 assembly, and he said he would do the game if he had access to the source, thinking it would be easy. But then he got C, which he didn't know, so he had to code the game from scratch without the actual source, and that's why it's missing a whole bunch.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you have to recreate it, you never get that close with the gameplay and physics and so on.
Right.
So, are you really sure about that?
But someone here says that The Lion King is a good conversion, and like Aladdin, it has the smoothness and graphics of a well-done port. So, I'd say it's not a one-to-one conversion. It's a port.
It's a port. Interesting.
Oh, and Dave Simmons, who programmed the Amiga version, has said, "I had very little time to get the game done, and when it became clear that the source code for the Mega Drive version was in C, then it was just too big a push to get the game fully completed for a Christmas release. I had 2 of the other levels almost complete, but there just wasn't enough time to fully test them before release."
Also, it was a testing issue.
And a time issue.
And testing time. Nowadays, you would say, like, no worries, released anyway, we will fix it later.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah, but back then, it's like you were stuck with what you had. So.
Which is actually not entirely true. There are games where the Gold Master had a problem, and you actually had to send in your broken copy and get a new one. There are examples of such games where this happened.
Yeah.
So you would have to take care of that.
Yeah.
And there are also examples where games were never fixed and just released broken. And there are other
there's
examples,
lots of those. I know there's lots of those.
And there are other examples of where a game was released in a second version, less difficulty and so on. Because people were complaining, but they didn't tell it to anybody. So it was like historians found it out.
Yeah,
One of those examples is Cauldron. Cauldron 1 and 2 was sold separately, of course, because they were separate games. But there was a release in France actually. Not only in France, let's say in Europe, right, where you could buy a bundle, and the bundle version of Cauldron 1 actually had less difficulty.
Right. Yeah.
There's an article about that in the 64 wiki. G64 wiki, we will just link to that, I guess.
Yeah.
And there you can read about the differences. And that's also the most expensive game I've ever bought. I bought 200 euros for this collection edition because it's so rare and not many collectors know about this special version of Cauldron.
I remember when I was younger, I had a disc, one of those Key Punch software deals, that it was a collection of text adventures. And it was...
Key Punch.
Yes. Yeah. It's more like like that's how they program their games.
I didn't want to destroy my Lenovo keyboard.
That's how they program their games. They literally just went.
Yeah,
and that's how a game came out. But it was a collection of text adventures. Like your Zorks and Go Left and all that stuff. And one of them had an issue where you'd get to a certain point and it would break. And I'm like, okay, well, this seems fairly obvious. I can kind of tell what the problem is already, but they were compiled BASIC. So here I go trying to find a decompiler. I found something finally that will decompile whatever I think it was Speed or something, that would decompile this and put it back into BASIC. And I decompiled it, found the error, which was a blatantly stupid, easy error. It was like a go-to 15 when it should have been like go-to 16 or something. Like it just went to a number that shouldn't be there or something, and I fixed it, and then I could play the game. But I'm thinking, like, how many people purchased this and like can't complete the game because there's an error and they don't have the resources to go and find a decompiler and then fix and then know enough to fix the basic code programming to continue on past that. Like how many people have actually been able to finish the game? I mean, they're incredibly simple text adventures. It's like you're spending, 3 hours and then you finish it. It's like they're not Zork level text adventures. These are single file basic programs that have been compiled. But yeah, I'm thinking like I wonder how many people have actually finished the game considering the fact that there's such a blatant. And how many people even played it to that point?
Probably HA, you and yourself.
Yeah, probably. I may be the only person to ever finish that game, and I don't even remember what it was called. But
it was Keep on
Software. yeah, exactly. That's about all you need to know.
Anyway.
Let's
jump over to the punch.
Well, hang on, I got more news. I got 2 more things here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Brand new from DIY Chris, who is a dude that makes stuff for the 64. That's there you go. He has now available replica 1581 boards. So there's no, it is like pretty much a 100% compatible reproduction board for the 1581. All you need to do is populate it with the chips and the capacitors and all that stuff. Sit back and spend an afternoon soldering, and you can build your own 1581 board. And
which is close to what I would wish, but I was talking about mechanics of the drive included.
Yeah. And over on Jan Beta. Okay.
Oh yeah, Jan Beta. I know him. He has a YouTube channel.
Yes. So Jan Beta has a limited number of keyboards for mechanical keyboards for the Amiga 1200. It's a hobby project. It's not commercial, so we're not looking at like. There's not a ton of them. It's not crowdfunded. It's not a replica of it. It's something different. Basically, he got a couple of Amigas and they didn't have keyboards. And so he designed this new mechanical keyboard to go in there.
Maybe we should plug our episode about the project that unfortunately didn't happen, for recreating an Amiga keyboard with the Chinese hardware developer.
Yeah, I would love to know what, because they said that they were going to keep trying, but we haven't heard much from them since then. So I don't know, where that's gone, but I'll put.
Let's link to that regardless, so people can check it out.
Absolutely.
Because it's an interesting topic, and it's an exclusive interview we got there. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it says pre-sales are accepted. There are 0 on stock. I don't know if it's real fuzzy about.
Jan Beta is a big name.
He is.
He will probably not.
Yeah, there's
flip
only
over,
going to be a very small number of these for sale, and I don't even know if there are because it's not mass produced. It's handmade hobbyist stuff. So we'll put a link to where you can read about it and find out about the thing. But I don't know if there's actually going to be any available. But there's some cool pictures of what he did, and it looks nice.
If you can pre-order it, it hopefully will be at the end.
Well, it says that, but I don't see any place to pre-order on this site. But again, it's real. The page is pretty basic. Again, we'll put links to it so you can see.
Well, Jan Beta is pretty easy to find on YouTube. You can send him an email.
Yeah, but there is a specific website for just this Amiga keyboard. It's got
but contacting Jan Beta shouldn't be a big issue.
Right? Yeah, no. I'm just saying, I don't know how many he's going to have available.
Kudos to you, Jan. Go for it.
Yes. But that's it. That's the news I got. So
awesome.
Onward and thusly.
Nice. So let's go mobile. Okay. Today we are talking to another podcast guest, and this time it's Michael Fisher. Wonderful. Hello,
Mr. Mobile.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mobile. Do you like that long eye? That's nice. Yes. Mr. Mobile. I feel very refined when you guys say it.
Or Captain2Phones.
Or Captain2Phones. That's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Whatever you like.
Yeah.
Call me whatever you want. Just have me on your podcast, please.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, the reason why we invited you is you came into the picture for me 7 years ago when I wanted to interview Marty Cooper. And at the same time, I saw your interview like a week after I released mine. And
really?
Yes.
The timing was that tight? Because we're talking 2015. This is when I was still at Pocket Now. And
exactly.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
It was just a week apart. And I initially thought that the question if his idea of making the mobile phone was really because of Star Trek came from my previous interview where I asked him the question first, but then you told me, no, you had another interview that I don't know with him beforehand.
Yeah, so no, it was the same interview I was referring to. It was that Pocket Now interview because that's the only time I've spoken with him. But I wasn't aware that you had interviewed him beforehand. I just saw him. I was at a coffee shop. I think maybe he tweeted. He had a Twitter account. And I was like, wow, the guy who invented the cell phone is A, still alive, and B, active on social media. I wonder if he would consent to an interview. So I reached out to his assistant. She said, yes, you can speak to him next Friday or whatever. And I said, oh my God, this is awesome. So I had no idea that anybody was doing the interview circuit with him. I had not watched any previous interviews. I ran through a series of my questions, and Star Trek is never far from my mind. So I wanted to know.
Interesting. Yeah, because it was wrongly assumed for a long time that in this fake documentary, how William Shatner changed the world, that his statement was really true.
Right.
Yeah. And newspapers like New York Times or something really picked up on it, and they're like, that can't be true.
I thought it was true. I was just like everyone else. And when he told me, I asked that question expecting him to say, oh, yeah, no, I was a big Star Trek fan and I always wanted to make the communicator. And when he said, no, in fact, it wasn't that. That's a misnomer. It was Dick Tracy, the radio watch. And I said, wait, what?
yeah.
Exactly. And the second reason was we also wanted a pet phone for review, and you didn't get one, but we got one.
Yes, that's right.
And then at the end of last year, I saw Nostalgia Nerd, where he picked up our review on the pet phone, and you had a statement there as well.
I did.
I'm wow.
A wildly uninformed statement, by the way. I had not done any research. He asked me for a quick blurb, and I said, yes, I will tell you what my memories were of that experience. And they were accurate memories, but I genuinely had no idea that y'all had gotten one, that anyone had gotten one.
You didn't miss much.
No, apparently not.
Yeah.
But watch the
Yeah.
video, perhaps. It's actually a funny review. AJ did it. He is an expert on that. Yeah,
Wow.
they promised us two. One to Europe, one to America. The one to Europe was sent. The one to America wasn't. And
What a surprise.
They shipped it in a paper envelope. And
So the box is all
arrived
crumpled
crushed.
up and
I remember seeing that clip because Nostalgia Nerd used that your footage, right? Yeah, I remember seeing that and I was like, oh my god.
yeah. It was a phone.
What an unfortunate odyssey, right? It was a phone, yeah.
Bubble wrap. What was that for again? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and that is the reason why I thought, like, finally we should talk, at least crossing our paths 3 times in the past. And I was like, wow, amazing. And you actually didn't do much interviews in the past years, like 4, 5, but never really many.
No, not many. I mean, it's how it is when you're creating any kind of content, whether it's running a site or a YouTube channel or social or all of them. There's not much free time. There really isn't. And I just I've been kind of, maybe that's one of the reasons it took so long, because I'm very grateful to receive podcast guest invites, but I'm like, can I fit this in, or do I have a meeting or a filming session or an edit or something? And anyway, I've been trying to take my friend's advice and take more time for myself this year, so that's what I'm doing. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming. So let us start at the beginning. How did it all start that you became fancy into tech and mobile phones? And why especially mobile phones?
It comes back, as it often does, once again, to Star Trek. I mean,
really? Okay.
Yeah, I got into Star Trek when I was 7 years old. Ironically, my older stepsister introduced me to it, and because she watched it, and now she's not into it, and I've been obsessed for 22 years or whatever. But I started watching it, and I grew up thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we had all of these handheld pieces of technology like communicators and tricorders and phasers? And with the exception of the phasers, we have them now, and they're called smartphones. When they're before smartphones, when they were first, mobile phones, just cell phones, I was like, I can't believe this. It was like 6 or 7 years after I'd first watched Star Trek that these came down to a price that people like me could afford. And I was like, I still remember standing on the sidewalk making my first phone call, and the absurdity of leading a phone conversation with, guess where I am?
Yeah.
Because you never had to ask that before, right? It's like, well, you're home because you're calling me from your home, right? So it really enchanted me in a way that nothing else had, when suddenly this make-believe tech became real. And that was 2001, and I never got over it. I just kept fixating more and more closely on mobile tech in particular. And that dovetailed with my having grown up in a very rural area, which was very beautiful, but not a lot to do for an adolescent teen. I always wanted to be out of the house and exploring and trying to find new things, anything I hadn't seen a million times before. And mobile tech lets you do that. And so this is the short answer why I don't really focus on home tech. Because home tech is cool, but it's tech you use when you're at home. And is there anything more boring than being at home? No, there's not. Get me out of here. Let me go.
Right.
You could be a Switch reviewer.
A Nintendo Switch review? Yeah, I mean, I cover it not extensively. I've only done 2 videos on it. Because by the time I get my retail model, everyone else has covered it to death. And I'm like, well, all right.
Yeah.
I'll get around to it,
So, but your start was actually not at Pocket Now, but earlier as a voice actor.
True
actor.
enough. Yeah. And stage actor and screen actor. Yeah, that's what I went to college for, as a matter of fact.
I can see that.
Well, thanks. It was, that came from do you ever feel like you look at the way you've led your life, and it's almost like you've taken every piece of advice from every self-help and success book and done the exact opposite?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Right. That stupid interview question when you're interviewing for a job and they're like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? How the hell do I know, man? Like, people were asking me on the day I graduated high school, the waiter asked me at lunch. He was like, oh, congratulations on graduating. What do you want to do? I said, dude, I want to join the Navy. I'd like to fly planes. I want to drive trucks. I'd like to be a writer. And it's like,
Yes. Uh-huh.
right? So what better occupation to stumble into immediately thereafter in college than being an actor? Your job is literally to pretend to be a vast swath of people. And so that's what I did for the next 10 years or so. The voiceover career was very helpful. I got a gig that let me do books on tape for law students, which sounds very dry, but I actually learned quite a lot. And it financed my theater addiction. Theater doesn't pay very well. Voiceover at the time did, and that's how I kind of matured over the next decade.
That was before Fiverr.
Yeah, Fiverr really ripped the whole guts out of the voiceover business, I tell you. Oof. Glad I got out before that apocalypse. Actually, it's funny you bring that up. I was just thinking of this the other day. My cousin tried to book me for a voiceover gig once. She was working for some company that needed a VO gig. And so I sent her my rates. And I didn't hear from her for like 3 days. She sends me back. She's like, I couldn't get you approved. We ended up going with somebody else. By the way, have you heard of this service called Fiverr? And I think that was the first time I had heard of it. And I clicked in and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, this is the end. Got it. This is how so much skilled crafts work goes out the window. Mm-hmm. No offense to anybody on Fiverr. I'm sure there's great artists on it. It was a real bummer for those of us who were used to the old way.
Well, on the other hand, services like us who do this as a hobby wouldn't otherwise be able to afford it.
No, that's entirely true. I mean, it's always a balancing act, right? It's like, who do I bring aboard? Who do I hire to help me with the thing that I can afford to do? And yeah, if there's a genuine need there, then 100%. Like I just used Canva, which I'm sure ripped the heart out of the design industry because I designed some custom graphics for myself for my Twitch channel in like 2 minutes. And because I cannot afford right now a $5,000 design firm to do that, right? So I get it. I think my objection comes with I think my cousin was working for like a $5 billion company and they went with somebody on Fiverr and it's like, screw off. You guys can afford this. Yeah. You can afford good work and you can afford to pay professionals for what you actually want. So like that's my beef, that's extreme to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then there was a cut because then the actor and voice talent, and then you immediately joined to Pocket Now? Or is there a gap in your LinkedIn?
In my LinkedIn, boy, I should update that, shouldn't I? There's not a gap. It had been 10 years. I had been doing stage and screen acting and voiceover for a long time. And then in 2011, it was one of those years. You ever have one of those years where everything goes wrong?
Okay.
Every year.
Been there. I understand. This was an exceptionally bad vortex of pain, just kind of everything ended. The voiceover job ended. My relationship ended. There was like a couple deaths in the family and something else I've since forgotten. Like everything just turned upside down. And I kind of sat there and I said, well, I can go back to wireless retail. I had worked in cell phone shops selling phones because I loved it and I got a free phone out of it. But I didn't want to go back to that. So what do I do? Well, what have I done for the past 10 years as recreation when I'm done acting or working whatever job I was working? Well, I would recreate by hanging out in forums and comment sections on tech blogs, sharing my opinion. I genuinely did not believe anybody would want to hear my views on tech. I mean, I didn't think I was all that insightful. I still don't. It's not a matter of I don't think I'm bringing all that much new to the table. But I said, what the hell? I'll just apply anyway. And I applied to Gizmodo, The Verge, maybe Boy Genius Report, maybe not, and Pocket Now, as I remember it. And Pocket Now got back to me. And we engaged in a back and forth. I sent them some writing samples. They sent me some YouTube requests because they wanted to head into YouTube in a big way. So I filmed an audition review video for them, which took days and days and days. And on February, what's today? 14? 15, 16. On February 16, 2012, they sent me an official offer. So 2 days from now is my 10-year anniversary in tech. And I've been here ever since. And I've told people that this is what the job I feel like I was put here to do for now. Not because I'm great at it, but because I love it. It's my avocation and it's my vocation. It's what I always wanted acting to be. I want to be passionate about it, and I want it to take care of me and deliver me into adventure and pay me well. And every time I stop to complain about this job in any way, I'm like, shut up. You're doing the thing you always wanted to do.
Right.
Wow. There are not many YouTubers concentrating on phones alone.
Yeah, me included. I don't comment. Like, there's a translation problem with MrMobile, and that is that in the, because of its use as like synonymous with cellular phones, mobile phones in Europe, there's often a misperception that all I cover is phones. And when we started in 2016, like, phones was going to be a quarter of the coverage. It was going to be phones and electric cars and tablets and VR and like cruise ships, travel. I wanted to make it this all-encompassing brand, but while there are excellent creators who have successfully bridged that gap, the way I seem to cover tech creates this feedback loop where when I do phone videos, they do very well and the channel grows. When I do videos that are not phone videos, people are confused. The algorithm is confused, and it just kind of like, it creates this disruption that's not great to the success of a channel like mine. So I've leaned hard into phones for sure, but I still try to take pains to remind people that no, I also cover laptops and wearables and the occasional home tech thing if it interests me. But yeah, phones are the focus for sure.
Yeah.
Smartwatches are okay for mobile phone reviewers. At least that is what I learned about YouTube, at least in this area.
Sure.
People are like, okay, smartwatches can be in that category.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's part of the ecosystem, right? Oh, headphones are another one, right? It's like anything that directly interfaces with the mobile phone, I find that my audience is willing to hear about. And I find that I can do enough research to speak intelligently about most of those things. I think the furthest afield I get is laptops, where it's like, I can do a laptop review, but when, like those folks who review those things, Lisa Gade, like, they go into the depths of those machines to a degree that I imagine I could do, but I don't have the passion for it like I do for phones, right? So when I cover laptops, it tends to be the weird ones, or it tends to be the ones I use every day, but the ones that stand out. Then I can talk about them like, oh, look, this is cool. You think it's weird, but it's not. It's actually, let me show you why it's cool. And then why you probably shouldn't buy it, because it's $5,000. But anyway, I digress.
So you must be a fan of Scotty Allen, the iPhone guy. Because he's done lots of stuff with mobile phones, especially iPhones, like bringing back the headphone jack on the iPhone 7 Plus and stuff. And
that was the guy that did that?
Yes.
I think he built an iPhone out of parts he bought in China. Just off
Exactly.
the street.
Guy. Yes. Oh, you couldn't avoid that. That was like a week's worth of news cycle for that. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to look it up. Yeah, strange parts. Yo, what a cool idea. Yeah, I admire folks like that. Those aren't the videos I tend to look. One of my least desirable traits as a creator is that I don't watch YouTube.
I don't listen to other podcasts much.
Yeah.
So you get
it?
Right?
Totally understand, yeah.
Yeah, but it sucks. It really does suck. I feel badly about it because when you are a good member of the community, I hold up Rene Ritchie as pretty high on this list because he watches everybody's stuff and he has something positive to say about everybody. Not in a condescending, not in a way that's, he's not throwing out compliments that are not deserved. But he's a great guy to have in your corner, and he's in everyone's corner because he wants everyone to do well. I want everyone to do well. I want to be friendly with everyone. I'm genuinely happy for everybody who makes a living YouTubing, podcasting, blogging. It's great. they're most of my friends now. I don't want to watch or listen or read it. I'm just because I spend all day in it. You know, it's like it feels like going back to work because I can't watch a video on the weekend of a mobile phone review without some part of my brain always being active, going, she did a good job with that. That's a great shot. I should do shots like that. How can I do shots like that? Should I think about? Am I too old for this? What about this take? Like, and suddenly it's Saturday night. It's 1 a.m. and I'm working. F that, man. No, so I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
I see. But at least you answer your emails, I guess, even if it takes a while. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, as soon as a creator like yourself passes 1 million, my thought is always like, he probably is not going even to read that email, not in a lifetime. So,
well, thank you for bringing it up because I'm torn about that. Like we talked about time, right? There's just not a lot of time when we're in businesses like ours. But that's true. And there's a part of me that like always remembers, though, every week writing into the Engadget podcast with, to be clear, a topic that was not of broad interest and I wouldn't cover it if I hosted the show. But still, like I wrote in for like 5 weeks and didn't get a response. This is before I was in tech. And I was like, I'm never going to be like that, man. I'm going to be accessible. I'm always going to be reachable. So I ruined my own schedule by trying to keep in touch with everyone. But also, like, first of all, y'all are not you're not like rando strangers. You guys have been in this business for decades. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Right,
like you're part of the firmament. It's not the same. I had to reply to you. I would have replied to you regardless.
Really?
I try to reply to everybody. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, we started 20 years ago as a disc magazine, and that pulls a lot of people away, saying like, "Why should I talk to them? Why would they want to talk to me?" You know. So it really depends. And then suddenly we started to going broader. And
how long ago was that?
The historical interviews I started 2012, and the podcast we started June
2014, I think.
2014, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, yeah, but I mean, even that, it seems like recent if you're talking in the context of discs, but it's not. I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That pivot is not new, so it's cool. I'm glad that you've done that too. It also gives me faith that I can pivot again.
Yeah.
And the thing is, unfortunately, some people we interviewed in the past are not around anymore. Might it be for age or because they got sick or whatever,
Sure. Yeah. No,
so
of course.
That's totally a thing, Unfortunately.
It is a thing. I was just thinking today, I was climbing the stairs up to this office and the idea leapt into my head to do a podcast. And this often happens. The difference is this was a podcast that didn't have anything to do with tech. And I think it might be a pretty good idea. I got to give it a couple days, but it's odd. It's rare that I get an idea that doesn't involve technology. And I think after a certain amount of time in any field, like a decade, say, even if you're not sick of it, which I'm not, you get to the point where you can kind of do this in your sleep. And that's not great from a creative standpoint.
Right.
It's not, if you're not pressing yourself, like, I'm very, we used to call it, getting fat and happy. That's lovely as a human. It's not great for a creative professional. I feel like it's been a long time since I've pushed myself, and I'm going to try and do that again at some point here soon.
Cool.
Is that why you said in our email exchange you perhaps want to rebrand yourself this year?
It is not. No, that's a different thing. That's more a matter of. Well, it's related. I mean, that's more a matter of establishing who I am outside of MrMobile, because most people know me as MrMobile, and I would love to keep being MrMobile for many years to come. But that persona has always been a little distinct. And to our point earlier, I can't. If I want to cover, I don't know what. If I want to cover seltzers, if I want to do a comparison video on the 20 best carbonated drinks, well, I can't do that on MrMobile. MrMobile is not a channel that like I could do it, it would get a lot of views, and then it would wreck the channel permanently. You know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, this YouTuber went off the deep end. Let's stop. Let's unsubscribe. So it's important to me to make sure that people understand that MrMobile is a massive part of my life, too big in a lot of ways, but there's more of me to go around in terms of sharing my thoughts on the internet. Because if there's one thing the world needs, it's another 30-something American upper middle class white guy sharing his opinions. I think that's really crucial in the world today.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of YouTubers actually shifted towards Twitch in the recent years. So, but of course, how would you do that with mobile tech? I don't know.
Well, I do. I mean, I don't know if you're aware. I have a Twitch channel that I don't aggressively promote. Well, it's very new. This is one of the hobbies. This is one of the reasons I didn't want to be MrMobile everywhere. Because if you are coming to watch my Twitch stream of me streaming a 30-year-old Star Trek CD-ROM game, the Venn diagram of the audience that's interested in that and the audience that's interested in the Galaxy S22 Ultra, there is no overlap, right? There's very little overlap, but I still want to do both. So I do the other one under Captain2Phones, and Twitch is fun. Are y'all on it?
Oh,
it's great. What a great time. I've been missing out for 7 years?
Wow. Well, for me, you always have been Michael Fisher, because I knew you before MrMobile, Duo to Pocket Now, and
right.
And I didn't know beforehand until I saw the Nostalgia Nerd that you didn't get the review unit and we got it. Because we had nothing to do with phones, but we had to do with Commodore because of the C64 magazine thing, and they preferred us.
Well, so and they talked to us on the podcast, and they agreed to send us a review unit. And
now, good for you, because not only did I not get a review unit, we were denied a review unit, and I believe we bought it, and it never arrived.
Oh man!
We got fully roasted.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Sure was. You know what's funny? I enjoyed talking about that, and I don't know. We don't have to go into it, but that was one of the few times I got to do quote real journalism stuff in a tech sense, because I was like, seems like these guys ripped us off. Let me do some follow-ups. Let me ask for comment. Let me try and get them on the record. And then I just put it together, and I was rereading that story, and I was like, this was cool. I know, because reviews are a very different thing, but reporting on something that seems to affect people's wallets, that felt like serious business for a minute. So I was sort of happy to be able to do that.
Yeah, we got a little into it when we were trying to send the phone back, because every address we sent to wasn't an actual address. Or it was, we would do a Google Street View or something, and it was like a burned out warehouse in London or some weird thing like that, and or just like a DHL office in Italy, not an actual place where they were.
Where does this corporation exist?
Yeah, how do I send this back? We're done with it, and it doesn't belong to me. So
yeah,
and it's just we put it in the mail and it would come back. All right, try a different one. Put it out, it'd come back.
Isn't that just wild? I mean, it's just kind of red flag after red flag.
Yeah,
and you're like,
I'm
doing the best I can here.
But you actually got a Facebook message from Paolo Besser back in the day saying, send to this address, right? I remember that.
Yeah, I believe he finally, said, here's an address. And it was none of the ones that we had. None of the addresses that they had given us.
Oh, you did? Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah. And then did that actually work? It didn't
it never came back to me. I don't know if it got where it was going, but it didn't come back to me. Definitely
arrived safely at his front porch and got rained on for a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow. What a strange. That's still going on, right? I mean, they're still posting to that Facebook page.
Allegedly, I mean, they're talking about doing stuff. I don't. They won't talk to us anymore after that review.
They didn't. Right. They didn't like the review at all. For some reason.
Strange. Well, for some reason.
Yeah.
Telling the truth will get you roasted sometimes.
Yeah.
God, I had to I finally unfollowed that Facebook page. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the oddest. Just here's just a picture of something.
It's like if you trained a 2012 era horse ebooks bot
Mm-hmm.
to run your Facebook social account. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Very strange.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
it's super, super weird.
Yeah.
But they got successful somehow because they made a successor phone called the Leo.
Was it
So-
successful though? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
yeah, like
Depends
how
on how
many
you
were
define
actually
success.
sold? Like,
Yeah.
do we know
Yeah.
anybody that has one?
Right. Like it's different when a company like, Samsung will come out and say like our Flip 3 sold the most units ever and doubled our previous fold. But it's like, yeah, but you're not sharing real numbers, so this is kind of thing. But I see Flip 3s on the street,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Never seen a
exactly.
Commodore phone in my life.
Right.
Even when I paid for one.
Mhm.
So I
Wow.
don't know if I believe it. Did I
Yeah.
know? But by the way, speaking of the real Commodore, like not the brand exercise, did you know that my first machine was a Commodore 64, like my first
Really?
computer?
No, interesting.
It was a gift from a cousin, like a distant cousin of ours, and she said, "We're not using this anymore." And I said, "I'm 8. Hey, Dad, can we take this?" And we did. I think I was maybe even younger, and we got a box full of old floppies with it too. And so that was my first experience with any kind of computing device, and it was as formative as you expect.
I got mine at 8 as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's right behind you. Yes,
Yeah.
I had the same keyboard, as a matter of
Mhm.
fact, because that's the 64, right? Because which one was the one with the little mini keyboard, the smaller one without the function keys on the side?
No, none of them had that.
Really? They all have the function keys row on
Yes,
the
yes.
side?
Yep.
There
Oh,
was the 64. There was a brown one, like
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, it looked like a loaf of bread, and then there was this one, which is the slimmer one.
and
Yeah.
the one behind you. What's the is that just called? That's not just called the 64.
This is
isn't it?
64C.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. That's what
Yeah.
I had then.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a 64. I had a 64C.
Oh, it's the same
Yeah, 'cause-
thing, just different case.
Got it.
Yeah, and actually they made a third model called the C64G that was a combination of the first Breadwin model
Yeah.
and the 86 model with the same cream white color that you see in the background.
Yeah. Well, it used,
So-
it used to be cream white. Now it's kind of
Now it's doing that lovely aging thing,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
where it looks like it's hung out and you've just kind of blown cigarette smoke at it for 30 years. Yeah.
Awesome.
The fun thing is that I did blow cigarette smoke at it for 30 years and nothing ever happened. And then, and then now it's just sitting in a pristine climate controlled area. And now it's turning yellow.
Now it's doing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Awesome. So what we learned is actually you are having a lot of brands and you keep them all separated.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I wouldn't say I keep them siloed. I mean, the Captain2Phones, my Twitter account, I'll frequently retweet the MrMobile, thing, and it's a little confusing at the moment. It'll get more streamlined as life goes on. It's just what I needed to do right now. I feel like a lot of us in the world are in a bit of a transition phase and trying to determine where our boundaries are and where we start and end virtually. And it is a little messy of necessity right now. Also, it gets more complicated when you play with other brands, right? Like I'm doing a weekly show with Super right now, which is a Meta property, and that's got a whole different brand. Captain2Phones there, but the visual identity is totally different. I'm about to launch a podcast project with a platform. I can't talk about it quite yet, but that'll be a whole different brand. It's a big soup. It's and then whichever ones kind of pull ahead in the priority list, well, those get focused. But MrMobile for the foreseeable future will be where I keep the bulk of my tech coverage. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what we learned so far is, as a creator, you never know actually what your perspective is from people who watch you or listen to you until after you get some feedback, via email or comments on YouTube, and people are like, "Oh, this is awesome," but what people don't know is the amount of work you put into things happening, like for this Commodore Italy interview, I had to harass those three guys on Facebook for weeks. Like,
For
we want to
weeks.
talk to you. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to you.
Absolutely, right. And then you post it, and, like in the first 5 comments is somebody just kind of thoughtlessly, lazily going, "You forgot to ask about," and then just nothing. And you're like,
Exactly.
I just spent 25 days trying to get him to answer an email. Like, yeah, it's as with many jobs, the work that goes into it is completely lost on a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And after you have like 30 minutes go or 1 hour, and then you are like, okay, I have to shrink down the amount of questions I want to ask. And then then people are like, you should have asked more this and more that and go more into detail and this and that. I'm like, well, no, we couldn't because there wasn't the opportunity. And
Absolutely.
and
It's like the old
sometimes
thing.
and sometimes
Go
you
ahead.
only get the chance to do interviews once.
Right.
Yeah.
And particularly if you uncover something that the interviewee doesn't like, and then they'll never talk to you again.
That fortunately didn't happen to me.
It is
Well,
fortunate.
Yeah.
Except,
Except with Commodore.
right.
Italy.
But you know what? Good. That's sometimes that should happen.
Yeah.
But it's like that old this saying, right? I mean, the formula for failure is to try to please everybody. And my buddy Super Saf, he about once a year posts screenshots of his comments, and he considers that he's done a good job when he gets an equal number of people harassing him in the comments for favoring Apple over Samsung or favoring Samsung over Apple. He's like, good, did my job.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a video of you a while ago where you actually talked about your rules of doing your mobile reviews. Like, you don't take reviews where companies want to manipulate or tell you what to review about or what not to talk about.
Right.
The ethics, I think you called it ethics, your reviewer ethics. I was like, wow, he's really making it hard for himself with all those ethics, like what you don't do and stuff.
Look, I appreciate that. Thank you, but I don't. My rules and so I didn't do a video, but they're on my ethics page on my website. It's mrmobile.tech/ethics.
That was it.
Yeah,
okay.
but I have more stringent rules than some YouTubers, but my rules are still a blend because I'm like a pretend journalist, and I try to focus more heavily on the journalism side than the pretend side. But I'm still occupying the space between influencer and reporter. So, I mean, if you want to look at stringent requirements, I mean, look at The Verge's ethics policy. Like, they fly themselves to every event, even if a manufacturer covers travel or lodging. They go and they pay for their own flight and they pay for their own hotel. When we were setting up MrMobile, we were like, how much are we budgeting for this? What kind of runway do we have? Well, we could do it, but it would take forever to turn a profit. So we're going to say we're not going to take money for reviews. I will never do a paid review, in quotes.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let a manufacturer pay me and then review the product that they've paid me to review. That is a contradiction in terms. But if they want to say we're going to launch this in Munich and we need to have you in Munich, we'll pay for your flight and hotel. I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. You can pay for my travel and accommodation. You do not get any editorial input whatsoever. You don't get to see the review before it goes live. I'm going to ask you questions nonstop for 4 days or however long you have me there. I'm going to learn as much as I can. But I am not in the same space as the people who, and no shade, the people who are in the business of saying, fly me to a place, pay me, and I will say whatever you want. I've done that on Instagram, but not for the products that I cover,
Right.
This was one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to get out of cars a little bit, car coverage, because organic car coverage is fun. You can do road trips and all that. But at the end of the day, because of the way the industry has worked, people kind of expected me not to do that kind of reporting. And so I said, well, I can either throw that out entirely, or I can consider just moving car coverage mostly to the sponsored side of the house. So all of the core coverage, the mobile tech stuff, the phones, the accessories, all that stuff that lives on the YouTube channel, that's all as close to journalism as I can conceivably get it. But then if I need to run a BMW ad on my Instagram, then, hashtag ad, here it is. And then, I just don't really cover cars anymore. And then I eliminate the conflict of interest that way. But everyone draws their own lines. It's a much more messy space than the traditional newspaper or even early blogosphere. So I just try to make it clear where I draw those lines, and I think that's all anybody can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when people watch your content, they know everything went right, and you didn't get paid to say what you said.
Right. Which is, look, and you can have this debate all day. We could have a whole episode about this. Like, people then still complain because, well, they complain about the access journalism thing, and it's like, yeah, but if you say something bad about Samsung, they're not going to invite you back. No, that doesn't happen to me. I say bad things about every brand, and they still invite me places. That being said, I've heard stories from smaller creators who do get a lot more pressure because they don't have, I guess, as much, institutional leverage or just audience size. So I get it. These are questions that are worth asking, and I think people should ask them even if they annoy me, maybe especially if they annoy me, because then I have to say, for the 5,000th time, I say what I want. Here's a link to when LG brought me to Korea and I said, you probably shouldn't buy this phone. It's like, here's a link to when HTC brought me to London and I said, this is a misfire. Don't get it. It's like, but if you have to constantly demonstrate your track record, it means people care that you're telling the truth. And that's important, even if it's annoying. So good. Nice.
I mean, also it depends a lot. For example, when you interview people like we interview you now, it really depends who we invite. When we invite somebody who is controversial, people will always assume the worst. Like, he knew the questions you are going to ask, right?
Ah, sure. Sure.
I'm like, no, that's not really how we do it. We do more like conversation type of conversation type of interviews, right? But so it's always a thing.
See, I'm glad you bring that up because so many people don't know this about the podcast world. I've guested on a few, and sometimes it's like this where I literally do not know what we're going to talk about when I sit down, which is kind of fun. Other times, if people want to talk to me about some really in-depth stuff, I like to have that prep time so that I can appear on air and actually look like I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because that's one of the things that YouTube spoils you on. It's not like the differences have been amplified for me since getting on Twitch, which is like, Twitch, you can sit there for 4 minutes trying to figure out something on a game and not say anything. And that's kind of normal to the platform,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On YouTube, like every second of aired content on YouTube that I put up there, I try to make it intentional, well-researched, and correct and well-paced. So it depends on the podcast I'm getting, all right? Or if it's kind of freewheeling and we want to just have a cool vibe, that's fun. If you're bringing me on, if it's like Twit, and they're bringing me on to talk about the latest Android update, I like to know what I'm talking about a couple hours in advance, just so I can not waste anybody's time, right?
True. But here's the thing also with old tech, the problem is there are a lot of people who think they know what they are talking about, but they don't,
For sure.
And that when I watch YouTubers or when I see Facebook groups and people are like, I think it was this and that way with the printers back in the 80s, and I'm like, no, that's not correct.
It's not true at all. Yeah.
And it's always tickling in my fingers, writing a comment below this YouTube video saying like, you didn't do your research right.
Yeah.
10 seconds Googling and looking at the Wikipedia page or whatever would have solved that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I totally get it. When I have a series called When Phones Were Fun, and I always look up, I try and get the history right on everything, but some of my most interesting comments are people who are like, I was there at that Motorola plant in Scotland, and you got this bit mostly right, but here's something else that's, you got this straight up wrong. Here's how it actually was. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to hear from somebody who was actually there. That's really, really cool. Usually I'm grateful for those corrections if it's something I truly got wrong.
Right.
Here's the thing: how do you tackle that? Because when we were asked if we want to participate in the Nostalgia Nerd video, we learned that he's actually doing this thing for Patreon first, and then he's asking for corrections that needs to be made, and that video with the corrections will be on YouTube. So,
interesting.
And then this way, people that do the pet film get the early version, but it might have some incorrections in it still. And
I
I'm like,
love that
and I'm
idea.
like,
That's
well, it's
interesting.
just it's a minor fault. It's not really important. But he was like, no, 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 I want to have it correct for the YouTube version, so I'm doing an edit. I'm like, okay.
What a fantastic model. See, that's great. That, in my opinion, that's a win-win because the patrons feel engaged in the creative process, so they can take some ownership of the content, which strengthens their bond between him and them, and then he gets to put out a better product on YouTube at the end of the day. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Short of paying a fact checker, that's
Yeah,
I don't see how you could do it better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you cannot be always 100% right. That's a problem.
Well,
Of course.
you do your
In
best.
anything, right? Yeah. You can do one of my favorite things from endlessly recording all those law books as a voiceover guy is that the notion that, like, to phrase it this way, you should do as much work and do as good a job as a reasonable person would expect a person in your position to do. Like, that gives you just enough leeway, right? Because you're like, there's always going to be somebody out there who's like, you were off by a pixel on this, or there's always going to be somebody who wants to talk about something just inane and pedantic. But if most people would agree that you did the best job you possibly could, then you're in the clear and you can sleep at night. And I think that's a good legal conceit that I use a lot.
Yeah.
And then there are alternative facts.
Well, yeah.
The story turns depending on who you ask involved in the story.
Very true. It's always a matter of perspective, isn't it?
Right. Awesome. So may I ask you, what's your future perspective? I mean, you said you are doing your Twitch thing now, actually a news channel. So are there other adventures? I mean, you said there are some you can't talk about, so of course you can leave them out. But are there some others you can talk about?
Yeah. So I'll reiterate the Super project is pretty fun. That's a platform built by Meta where anybody who wants to join can join. If you are not in the US or Canada, you have to use a VPN, but it works just fine. And you can come on stage, on virtual stage with me, and we just chat about, typically I put a theme on the episodes, but we can really talk about anything. And it's just a very casual, chill hang. The other project, I can't talk about that yet, but it's audio only, and it's going to be somewhat similar, but probably a little bit more honed, a little bit of casual storytelling. There are 4 podcasts I want to do. I need to find the time to do them, and I need to build them right. And I probably can't do them at the same time I'm doing MrMobile, so maybe they're a thing for the true next phase of my life. I don't know. And something else, right? Oh, and Twitch. You mentioned Twitch. I try not to advertise that as a content avenue. Look, when you put things on the internet, right, you want it to be good, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every day I have to talk myself out of that on Twitch. I have to be like, I'm 20 minutes into a stream and I realize I'm trying to put on a show, and I'm like, stop. You did this because you wanted a hobby, and if people show up, they show up, and don't worry about the number. Don't look at the metrics. Twitch makes it hard because it gives you goals to hit. It's like, become an affiliate. Oh, good, you got all the things. Now you can get paid $2 an hour as an affiliate. And it's like, I don't care. No, stop. I just want to relax.
Yeah, right.
If there are 3 people here, that's enough. Exactly. Yeah. So those, there are probably others, but those are what I've got right now. And I should mention my YouTube channel with my father, which I still maintain. We do about a video a year, because my dad builds model ships in excellent scale, and he builds steam engines and really impressive stuff. And about once a year, we kick out a video featuring those. It's called Rapid Nadion, RAPIDNADION. Sick plug. But we've been maintaining that channel since 2006.
Nice.
I saw that. That was pretty nice. That somebody is really doing something with his dad still. Nice.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we have a great relationship, and that channel taught me that YouTube could be a money-generating thing. I mean, we posted a bunch of videos for fun, and then Google sent us an email in 2009 and saying, if you don't claim your money, we're going to give it to someone else. I'm like, what are you talking? Money?
What money? What money?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you happen to make a podcast episode about retro or preserving old tech, here we are.
Absolutely.
If that ever happens.
What kind of boats does it do scale models of? Just really quickly.
Dad does a lot of steam launches are featured in these things. He's kind of like early 1900s steamboats.
Okay.
He also built a 13-foot long replica, or I suppose about 2-meter long replica of the USS Kitty Hawk, an aircraft carrier that launches model airplanes. And we've sank a lot of Titanic models.
Awesome.
That's where a lot of our growth came from for a long time. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
it's
awesome.
a wide variety of very nerdy things that we have a good time doing.
Who played the iceberg?
Yeah.
Actually, the iceberg, we have yet to recreate that. We've done a lot of the ships. We haven't done an iceberg. Dad would always ask, like, you want me to make up an iceberg? I'm like, no, we don't have time for that. Sink it.
Interesting, yeah. So there's a lot more about you than I knew from you at the beginning of this interview.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to have spoken with you both. I mean, like, thank you for the intelligent questions and and for sticking with me. Because as I've said to I think 17 people just today in the very first line of an email, sorry, I'm trash at inboxes. I apologize. You've been waiting for a long time.
I'm persistent.
Yeah.
That is a quality that pays off. It really does.
True. But it seems to be that first impression because I think AJ, you also said something along the lines. So we are talking about this guy about phones, right?
No, I didn't say that.
No?
No.
Didn't you? Okay.
I don't believe so, no.
If whether you did or not, that's to my point earlier, that's what most people expect. And we got on the thing, MrMobile, all right, well, we'll ask him about the iPhone. Who's next? Who's after him? And it's like, no, but wait, no, but I wanted, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I wonder, are there any other guests you would like to talk to besides Marty Cooper?
Oh, it's funny. I don't do interviews very often, so I don't have that at the forefront of my brain. I don't. It's funny. It's like I don't often think that way, and sometimes if I want to have those conversations, I get to. So I will tell you that I got to talk Motorola. Absolute luminary in the mobile space, created a lot of the tropes that we still use today. I cover them pretty often in the When Phones Were Fun series, and their PR department has been fantastic because I will call them up. I'll literally be like, because I know this is weird. I don't want to talk to you about the new Moto Edge from last year. I don't know. No. I want to talk to you about a phone from 2007 called the Aura. You only made 500 of them, and they cost $2,000. And they'll be like, the PR person is, 2 decades younger than I am. She's like, maybe we can. And within 20 minutes, they put me in touch with the guy who designed it, or the guy who led the team who designed it. And he's still an employee at Motorola, even though it's been bought twice since then. And he still heads up a team that's mostly still intact. And he'll talk to me for an hour.
Wow.
Like, it's. I didn't mean to make this a Motorola plug, but that's the first thing that leapt to my mind when you asked like people I want to interview. And you don't see those interviews because I'm not set up to do that. And really the format of my channel doesn't really lend itself to interviews. But when that can happen, it's so cool. I geek out just tremendously. That happens at Qualcomm events too, because Qualcomm invites people to Hawaii. You go, you cover their news, but they invite their partners too. And so you get like the same Motorola people or like T-Mobile people. And I'm like, oh, so you're the one who's in charge of the 5G deployment in Brooklyn. Can we talk about this for a second? Because I want to, and having that kind of geek access is really one of my favorite parts of this thing. And you don't see it on the channel. You don't, because again, so. I did not answer your question, but I hope that was interesting to hear otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I could make an input here. I had the same feeling when I know AJ doesn't like I go off the rails here, but I
all right.
I have to mention it. I have to mention it
You may indulge.
because some years back, I think it was also 2015, I read that the inventor, the Finnish inventor, or Finn, do you say Finnish or Finn?
I think either way.
Yeah.
Either way. Okay.
I think so.
So the inventor from Finland of the SMS died.
Of
And-
short message service? Oh, really?
Yeah, and I read that news article and I was like, no, that's not true. The inventor of SMS was German.
No kidding.
Yes. So I wrote an email to Friedhelm Hillebrand and I asked him like, can we do a historical interview together? And he is like, yeah, sure. And I was like, can we do it in English? He was like, yeah, I speak English all my life when I was a technician for the German postal service, because back in the day they did also telecommunication. It was like, sure, we can do it in English. So, and I really wonder myself why nobody else interviewed him ever about this. And
Yeah.
and he said like, no idea. But
Well, it's,
but this would be another guest. I mean, he still likes to do interviews.
Yeah.
He's still around. I think he is like 83 now or something.
That's super cool. I've always liked SMS. Of course, it's back in the news now with iMessage versus RCS and all this stuff. But like, I've always appreciated the cleverness of SMS. Like, the system wasn't designed to do that. The control channel over which they are sent was not designed to do that. It's just meant to like be a avenue of communication between the phone and the network for utility services. But they found out they could run 160 characters through there. And in the process, it was more reliable than any data session or anything else because the control channel has to be open all the time. Brilliant. I love that. And now, of course, it's not good enough for us. We need read receipts and we need attachments and that. Give me SMS.
So if you still have a gap somewhere in your content, invite Friedhelm Hillebrand.
Yes.
He is a wonderful person to talk to.
Keep that in mind. He shares a last name with Jerry Hillebrand, so, or it might be spelled differently. It'll be easy to remember, is my point.
I should send you the link to that interview I did.
Please, yeah, no, I'd like to read that.
It's actually a
listen
YouTube
to it.
video. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to keep it open in a tab and listen to it.
Yeah.
Like
it's the only English interview he ever did.
That's really cool. Please link me as soon as we're done here. I would love to check that out.
Yeah. So, and I know you said you don't like guests. I mean, you don't like guests. I mean, you don't plan to have guests. Sorry, I worded that wrong. But
okay.
he would be a person to invite. Like,
thank you for the referral. Yeah.
MrMobile talking to the inventor of SMS. That could be a kicker.
Damn it! I wish you told me this 10 years ago. It really would have landed then. Now it's like half my audience is like SMS. What? And then someone next to them is like the green bubbles, and they're like, oh, ew, no.
Yeah.
Really?
We have a real problem in America with that.
Yeah, we do.
50% of
do.
Americans use the iPhone. Yeah. AJ, I'm preaching to the choir. Sorry.
Yeah.
But didn't you say some minutes ago? Sometimes you have to make content you like.
Samsung
and not what
A52.
fits?
It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes you have to make a decision about what kind of content you're going to write. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Interviews get more precious when people are dead, unfortunately.
True
That
enough.
is the way it is.
Yeah.
Then people are suddenly rediscovering the interviews. Like, wow, somebody did an interview with him like 10 years ago when he was still alive. Incredible. Yeah. But of
then
course...
You get that, well, then you get that wonderful duopoly of comments where it's like, thank you for posting this heart care emoji. Then right below that, if I'd interview him, I would have asked him this. Terrible interview.
Yeah. Well.
No, you're right, though. That's an interesting truism I hadn't thought about. They do get more precious when the subject passes away.
Unfortunately. Of course, when you invite people for interviews, you can't be like, can I interview you while you're still around?
Yeah. You're getting up there, dude, maybe...
right, yeah.
Maybe,
before it's too late is what I'm saying.
Nice. Yeah. Wonderful. I'm very happy that you are so versatile in your personality and content, as I learned. And
Thank
I'm
you.
really looking forward to see what you are coming up with this year.
So do I. Thank you. I look forward to seeing if any of it works. Wish me
Of
luck.
course, of course. I
Yeah.
hope we can stay in touch and you let me know.
Of course. Yeah. How active are you all on Twitter? Because as I say, that's where I typically
Pretty-
spend the most time.
Pretty active there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am positive that I probably don't follow you yet because I'm bad at that too. Let me do that right after this.
Sure.
Would you mind linking me when you send me
Yeah,
the
sure.
other interview?
Sure,
I'd love to follow
sure.
you back.
I can email you everything,
Thank you.
like our Twitters, the interview, whatever.
Perfect. Yeah, please do. Oh, yeah. Now I would like to share this too, because it's been a great conversation, and I don't think I've said anything incriminating or put my foot in my mouth in a big way. So I think I'll share it.
If anything, then we did it.
Yeah.
But this is not live, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And we have our PR person who can stop any shitstorm.
That's a good PR person to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you are laughing. We actually had this situation that we said, like, should we really interview this guest because he will probably cause a shitstorm.
Who was? Can I ask who that was or not?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, you can ask because we can take it out.
Can ask, sure.
Yeah. Oh, hang on, wait.
Yeah.
Stop it here. Okay.
I was gonna say-
Yeah. So that's a little story you have to cut out in the end. But
Yeah. Thank you
it's-
for the behind the scenes look. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But of course, in your field, you don't have such personalities that are.
Well,
I wouldn't say that. I
Eh?
wouldn't say that. No, there's some, I mean, Commodore is not the only company to take my money, or they're not the only brand owned by a shady company to take my money without giving me anything. You guys remember Runcible?
Mm-hmm.
The round smartphone from 2015, MWC
No,
2015?
I don't know that.
Yeah, I do.
AJ, you remember it? I mean, just
Vaguely,
beautiful walnut backing, stainless steel. It was going to run the Mozilla OS, and then it was going to run Android and stuff. Well, they had production issues, but they still took a bunch of Indiegogo money, including 1,000 of ours, and have never delivered the product. And
Wow.
that's a bummer. We wrote them up at Android Central last year, but yeah. It's just buyer beware, as always, with crowdsourcing projects. And there are many even worse stories than that in mobility. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my start into this mobile world and YouTube actually was iJustine, and she's still around.
Are we back into recording again? Have we?
Probably, right?
I don't know. What to say, Michael?
Yeah.
You can come back.
Insights?
Yeah, come back in the Runcible thing is all public. So yeah, use that.
Sure.
Okay.
Good point. We didn't ask him.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, AJ. Thank you.
Yes. Indeed.
So iJustine, yeah, not only she's still around, she's flourishing. I see her at events, and she's always among the hardest working people there. But you would never really know it because she always acts as if she is having a very chill day and nothing is going wrong, and she is not producing any content, which is of course the opposite of how I am when I'm working, which is like, what I'm leave me alone. I'm sorry. Yes, it's nice to see you too. I'm sorry. I'm just, you understand, sweat on the brow, just armpit stains. Justine is the opposite of that. She's just grace everywhere, and her sister Jenna as well. They're really wonderful. So they were your on ramp into tech.
Yes,
into mobile tech.
Actually, yes. And I think the first video I saw from her was her Periflage on Facebook pic. This music video. That was the first thing I saw of her. That must have been 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. I wanna be a Facebook pic.
Yeah. God, that's just it's crazy. Yeah, it's funny. It doesn't seem like that long ago, and then you put it into words, and like, oh yeah, that was literally 13 years ago, 14 years ago. That's exciting. 13, 14, 13. I don't know.
Something like that.
More than 10 years ago.
Exactly. This is how I got into this world, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Dang. I never told this to anybody, so.
And then, like, what kept you in it after that? After being exposed to that, like, what?
Well, then YouTube became a thing. Everybody was like, "Did you see this video on YouTube?" And like, so it became a daily thing, you know. And then you know how the algorithm works. When you watch one video, it suggests you another, and then you keep watching, you know.
Sure. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
an early form of TikTok, except not terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
then
And
we
this,
started producing content. It was originally audio, and then one of our guests was like, "We've prepared a backdrop, and we're getting, my partner's getting dressed in the other room and ready to go, and we're like, oh, I guess it's a video podcast then." So
Completely by accident.
yeah,
Oh, okay. We don't want to waste the backdrop. Sure.
yeah.
Wow.
exactly. And this is how we happen to be on YouTube. And but still, the podcast is the strongest point with 500,000 downloads.
Yeah.
And stuff. But people, of course, they look still on the YouTube mainly, and then you have to explain, no, it's our byproduct. YouTube is not our main thing.
Yeah, we used to do that with the Pocket Now Weekly all the time when I was hosting that podcast. The flagship product was actually the audio podcast, but we would cross-post to YouTube for those additional views and to keep that channel engaged.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Of course.
Exactly, yeah. And then, of course, I was making a list of guests who I want to talk at HA2, and then, some people got involved into scandals, and we had to remove them from the list and stuff.
Well, I'm really happy that you caught me before my next scandal, because this was great. Yeah. In about 6 days, some news is going to break, and no one's going to want to hear from me. No, I'm kidding. I hope.
And that's also what I enjoyed about you. You're always super relaxed,
Well, I'm glad to know that veneer is holding steady. It's not true at all. My legs have been bouncing this entire time now. But thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not as relaxed as AJ. AJ's like I'm trying to be as chill as you, man. Actually, you remind me. He can be sometimes polarizing, so I hope you take this as the compliment I intended, because I really love him. Are you familiar with Daniel Rubino at Windows Central?
Not entirely, no. I know the name.
I feel like I've been hanging out with him for the past hour. You're just like him. Very, very chill energy, very cool dude. Okay. His office does not have as many things on its wall, but otherwise identical.
Okay.
I love your office, by the way.
No, thank you.
Joerg as well. Your cabinet behind you is great. Sorry. This is great for an audio product. This is great radio, isn't it?
Yeah.
You totally missed our interview with David Fox. I don't know if you know Maniac Mansion, the old computer game where you could put the hamster into the microwave.
I think we've all heard about that one.
He asked David Fox, so what do you have against hamsters?
Yeah.
That's a great way to set a tone. I remember hearing about that game when I was in elementary school, junior high, maybe.
Yeah. 87.
Yeah.
87.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait. Should I play that? Should I play that on Twitch?
Yes, you should. It's a great game.
I might. Maniac Mansion. Is it like Hugo's House of Horrors, like that kind of adventure?
It's like a Monkey Island kind of thing where you're walk that way, pick thing,
pick thing up,
dudes
use
walking
key
around
on door.
Stuff. Right.
Okay. I will add that to the list as soon as we get off the air here. That sounds great.
So I have to send you a couple of things in my emails.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Like how to contact Friedhelm Hillebrand, that hamster interview, and the other one with the SMS, right?
Absolutely. Also the Twitter handles too.
True.
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, I'm just dumping work into your lap.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
it's all good.
It's all good. I mean, we are doing twice 2 podcast episodes per month, and you are the second, so
great.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I will look forward to hearing this on the air. Speaking of podcasts, I should probably go prepare for my super show in an hour and a half.
So
awesome.
Then we will ask, where can people go to find out what you're doing and to follow along at home?
Absolutely. Thank you. I think the easiest way to do that, if you're on Twitter, is at Captain2Phones. That's the handle, Captain, the number 2 phones. On YouTube, my principal product continues to be at the MrMobile, TheMrMobile. And lastly, because of some damn squatter on Twitch, I had to spell it differently. So I'm Captain2Phones, but it's spelled out. Captain, TWO, phones. hopefully I can get my real handle back from whoever has it. But that's on Twitch. So thanks. And
Awesome.
this has been an awful lot of fun chatting with you guys. So thank you for making it such a welcoming space and for doing your research.
Thank you for sitting with us.
I had 7 years to learn my homework, but I didn't know
Fair
about
point.
the Twitch thing, and so.
Yes.
Well, gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you.
It's been a really great time, and I look
Keep
forward
in
to
touch.
following you on Twitter. Yeah, please send me those links.
Awesome.
I'll follow you right away.
Okay.
Awesome. Talk to
All
you
right,
then.
All right.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
sir.
Bye. Thank you.